If you'd like to walk faster and climb stairs easier without back, hip, or knee pain, then you need to have strong glutes. But there's one glute strengthening secret that many people don't know about. In this video, I'll explain what that is and how you can apply it to several common glute strengthening exercises. So let's get started. The one glute strengthening secret that I'm talking about is activating your core. Your glute muscles attach your thigh bone to your pelvis. And you have three separate glute muscles. You have the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus on the side of your pelvis, and then the larger gluteus maximus on the back of your pelvis. The job of the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus is to move the leg out to the side. The job of the gluteus maximus is to move the leg backwards. But you need to have a stable pelvis in order to be able to move the leg. If it's easier to move the pelvis by extending the lower back, then that's what's going to happen. And then you end up strengthening your back extensor muscles rather than your glutes. The same thing goes with hip abduction or moving the leg out to the side. If it's easier to hike your pelvis or lean your trunk, then that's what's going to happen. So if you activate your core muscles by blowing out and tightening here, and then keeping that tight as you do, say, hip extension or hip abduction, that does limit the total range of movement, but you're getting all of that movement through the hip joint and not getting excessive amounts through your lower back. So now let's apply that principle to several common glute strengthening exercises. First, we'll start with some ones on the floor. If you're doing a bridge where you lie down on your back, one common mistake that I see is people arch up really high, but then you end up arching your back, which can potentially cause pain, especially if you already have lower back pain. So start out by tightening your core muscles, activating your abdominals, then pushing your feet down into the floor only as far as you can without losing the pelvic tilt and arching your spine. So roll under, tighten the abdominals, and then lift, squeezing the glutes only as high as you can without allowing your lower back to arch. So that's one example. The next one is for the clamshell. This strengthens your gluteus medius and gluteus minimus along with your deep hip external rotators. To do this, you abduct and externally rotate your top leg, moving it out to the side like this, but the same principle applies. If you allow your pelvis to roll backwards, then you can recruit the tensor fasciae lata, which is a much more dominant hip abductor muscle. You also recruit the spinal rotators. If you look at it from the other side, if you're allowing your body to roll back like this, you're getting more rotation through the spine and you're not activating your glutes as well as you should. If you tighten your abdominals and then focus on squeezing the glutes, again, the range of motion goes down, but the activation of the glutes gets much better. To see that from the front, tighten the abdominals, squeeze the glutes. Just a tiny little lift here. You don't need to get way up high like that. Because remember, the function of the glutes in real life is not to move your leg way out to the side like that. It's to prevent your pelvis from tipping over when you're standing on one leg while walking or climbing stairs. So now let's do some standing hip exercises. We can do the open chain exercises that I started with, for example, tightening here and then doing just a hip abduction, kicking out to the side, slightly focusing on feeling your gluteus medius and gluteus minimus activate, tightening here to keep the pelvis from tipping to the side, and then doing just little tiny isolated glute contractions, bringing the leg slightly out to the side. You can also do hip extension using that same principle, tightening here to prevent back extension and squeezing the glutes going that way. And you can absolutely hold on to something for balance with both of these exercises if you need to. But speaking of balance, balance is another time when you activate your glutes, particularly the gluteus medius and the gluteus minimus. So when standing on one leg, first think about tightening your abdominal muscles getting your balance over two legs, slightly shifting onto one leg, staying tight here, squeezing the glute, and then slowly lifting the other leg off the floor, trying to keep your belt line level. What you don't want to happen is just to lift up and immediately, as soon as this foot leaves the ground, many people will find that their pelvis drops. Now, when I say find, I mean I find that a patient's pelvis drops. Most of the time, the person themselves is not aware that that's happening. So again, tighten here, tighten the glute, slowly shift onto one leg, and then slowly offload, trying to keep the pelvis level with the ground. And now we'll get into some more functional glute strengthening exercises, such as squats and lunges. When you do a squat, if you allow your back to arch like that, one, it limits your depth, so you can't get down as far, but it also shifts your center of gravity forward, which places more emphasis on your quadriceps and can create some more compression behind your kneecaps. So instead, you want to start out by stacking your trunk over top of your pelvis and tightening your abdominals by blowing out. Then as you go down into a squat, you want to keep that core contraction tight and sit back onto your heels. Then as you come back up from the squat, you want to drive the heels down into the floor while holding that contraction of your abdominals. I find that people will either arch their back on the way down, which again limits your depth and can put more stress on your knees, or they'll sit back just fine, keeping a neutral spine, but then when they come to go back up, they'll arch their lower back as they're coming up from the bottom position. So again, stack your trunk over top of your pelvis, tighten your abdominal muscles, then hold that, sit back with your weight on your heels, leaning your trunk forward slightly, then push through the heels, keep the core tight as you're coming back up. Now, if you can't get all the way down, it's perfectly fine just to do what you can comfortably and then progress deeper over time. So that's the squat. Next, on to lunges. Lunges are a great glute strengthening exercise because not only do they work on hip extension, moving your leg in the forward-backwards plane, but they also work on controlling in the side-to-side and rotational plane, which emphasizes your gluteus medius and gluteus minimus. However, the same principles apply. If you keep a lot of arch in your lower back like this, it shifts your center of gravity more forward, making the lunge more of a quadricep dominant activity. Conversely, if you tighten your abdominals and sit back onto the heel like that, that emphasizes your glutes more. So again, if you allow a loose core, that shifts your center of gravity more forwards. If you tighten your core and sit back onto the heel, that emphasizes your glutes more. So hopefully you did find that tip helpful. Try applying it to some of the glute strengthening exercises that you're already doing or some of the ones that I mentioned in this video, and leave a comment letting me know how it worked out for you. If you'd like more glute strengthening exercises, check out this video over here. But before you go, if you found this one helpful, make sure to give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.